Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be going over some reconsiderations on whether or not I want to continue playing Chaos Space Marines or if I want to play them side by side. Some could call this post-warp clarity, but hope you guys enjoy. Now, what I mean by post-warp clarity, I'm more saying I think I'm beginning to fall out of love with Chaos Space Marines, whether that is just how they look, what they do, or what their units do, and what their army role and or detachments do. Now, this is all mostly due to the upcoming Black Templar Codex being released, but there's a little bit more to it than that. Now, expanding on that, you know, what are the things or the bigger reasons as to why, I'm falling out of love with Chaos Space Marines? And the first and most obvious one is the aesthetic of the Chaos Space Marines. Although I don't I don't think it's bad looking. I don't think the models of the Chaos Space Marines are bad by any means. I think they are good looking and they're cool looking models, but they just don't have that same as a, as a Black Templar model. Now, yeah, there's the whole thing of, oh, well, that's also just saying that you like how the Space Marines look more than the Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. But, moreover than that, just going from like the looks department and going over to like units in both Chaos Space Marines and Space Marines and on the Space Marines, and I'm sure this would also this also does bleed over into Black Templars, is, in all of my CSM matches, the only model or only unit that I've used where they're like always doing well, right? Even in the game, even in the game where I was teaching my friend Tyler how to play Warhammer, and he was playing Grey Knights, which that was a bad game for my possessed. They still did pretty well, all things considered. And it's rough because it's like Legionnaires are Legionnaires. They're fine, but they tend to get picked up off the board pretty quick. Running them in units of 5. Chosen, they're not bad. They hit hard and they can certainly take a beating when shot or fought into. But, they're not that much more tankier than Legionnaires. They don't have an invuln save. They don't have a feel no pain. They're still toughness 4. So any good decent level of shooting or fighting that crashes into them, they're not long for this world. But and then with other units that I've used in all of my matches that have just really irked me, or I even like tested from time, like tried them out for game to game. It's like the Predator Destructor, the 2 Predator Destructors that I use, my main tanks, always disappoint me with just wanting to shoot into things that I want them to shoot into, and then they disappoint me when I shoot them into things that I don't want to shoot them into. But for 2 different things. When it's like, oh, I want all of my las guns, which are the sponson weapons on the destructor, I want those to go into the vehicles and whatnot, or like the big thing that I'm like trying to take down as soon as possible, and it's just like, nope, sorry. Right? Nope, sorry, they don't hit, or they don't wound, or some other shenanigans. And then it's like, even when I shoot them into elite infantry, which are what the Predator Destructor is good for, even then it's still middling and disappointing it more often than not. But then it's like, oh, that unit of Kroot carnivores that are only there to tie up your stuff in combat because reasons, yeah, everything hits them, everything wins them. It's just like, are you kidding? Like, I know this is the anti-infantry version of the Predator, but like, come on, man. And then, moving on, away from like CSM, you may think, okay, well, like, surely Space Marine units, you haven't performed all that well for you. Unironically, a lot more Space Marine units have performed well. And yeah, that's not saying a whole lot because there's like a lot of Space Marine data sheets, but just to name some examples off the top of my head, aggressors, either by themselves or being led by a captain in Gravis armor or apothecary biologist, they're good. I've had a group of 6 of those guys plus a biologist and captain get ferried up to the by a land raider, sit on the midfield objective and throw hands. I mean, they ended up dying after a while, but like they threw hands and were able to kind of like really be hard to kill. Redemptor dreadnoughts in all of the games I've played Space Marines, I've had at least one Redemptor dreadnought, and that thing always slaps. Sometimes literally. But it's good. Heavy intercessors, although people tend to yap about them being a little overcosted for what they are, which I do agree. I've had good experiences with them. Their shooting is pretty solid and they're fairly tanky. And then among other units, right? Gladiator Lancer has never really disappointed me. The Land Raider in either Chaos Space Marines or Space Marines has never really disappointed me. Jump pack intercessors have never disappointed. The list can go on. There are so many things that I'm like, you know what? Like, this isn't bad. Now, to the end of it, like, I still don't like Oath of the Moment. I still don't like the Space Marines Army rule, but luckily Black Templars don't have it anymore with their new codex. In terms of Space Marine detachments, I still am not a fan of most of them, but I'm sure that would change. Right? Maybe it's just a matter of like, for my the first impressions of what I've experienced have imprinted or left a bad taste in my mouth, and I just kind of gotta like ease back into it. Go back into playing Black Templars for a little while, see how it goes of running the new detachments or going and running Gladius Task Force with Black Templars as the army. And then part of the big reason why I like I'm having this post warp clarity is it's like I think Chaos Space Marine models or units, the data sheets, mostly like for the infantry, want to accomplish the same thing, but they all go through it in different ways. Now that sounds funny because Havocs are not melee and whatnot, but setting that aside, setting aside the units that you want to shoot, being Havocs and Obliterators, you look at Legionnaires, you look at Chosen, you look at Possessed, and you look at Terminators for CSM. All of those units, more or less, don't have good shooting. I mean, yeah, Chosen and Terminators have access to combi weapons, but, not saying combi weapons are bad, just it's not strong shooting, necessarily. But then you look at the melee weapons, and it's like, okay, well, clearly, they have good melee. Or if not good, like, workable melee or great melee. Legionnaires have an ability that wants them to get into melee. Chosen have the ability to still make a charge and shoot when they advance and fall back, so like that's good for shooting and melee. Terminators, from what I recall, don't have a great ability, but they still have really good melee. Most of them can have power fists. One of them can have parry to curse weapons. Most of your infantry, and then of course Possessed only have melee. They don't have any range. But like, if you're playing Creations of Bile, or if you're playing, I think, like even Renegade Raiders, you're going to find yourself in a situation, at least from based off of my personal experience, where you just are going to have all of your things inevitably just want to crash in and make a charge and to go in and fight things. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but what's just kind of like eye-opening or if not a little sobering about it is just like, man, like most Chaos Space Marine infantry models and even characters and whatnot, it's like you want them to get into melee. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And that's something, I mean, I've learned from my experience playing Chaos Space Marines that I like melee armies. But it's just like, hey, when I want to sprinkle in just a little bit of shooting, but I don't need like a dedicated heavy weapons team like Havocs. Well, that's where or like even Obliterators. Well, then that's when things become a little kind of, like, I don't really have options. Like at least with the Space Marines, it's like, hey, I could throw in Sternguard vets, have higher point costed combat optimized intercessors of anti-infantry bolters, or I could throw Hellblasters in a full 5 or 10 man unit of those guys, all of them with plasma weapons, just supercharging it into elite infantry or some vehicles just to try to get wounds off, that kind of stuff. But with that, guys, that'll be my reconsiderations of Black Templars and Chaos Space Marines. And granted, given how things are going to go, I'm probably still going to end up playing Chaos Space Marines. If anything, it's going to be like a joint venture where, hey, these are the two armies that I play. But Black Templars might be the new focus of my Warhammer journey going forward. We'll have to wait and see. The Codex hasn't officially come out yet, and as I said before, the online rules have yet to come out, at least as of time of recording. But once all that does come out, once the online rules are available, a new recruit and Wahapedia and all that are updated, definitely I'm going to be making a list, getting things together. But feel free to comment down below if you guys have had any similar thoughts of any faction army. Did you start with the Necrons and then go, man, I really like World Eaters, or whatever have you. Let me know down in the comment section down below if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. If you want to see my kind of general take on what do I think of the new Leagues of Votann codex from what's been leaked and talked about, I could make a video just briefly going over that, seeing as that was an army that I was interested in, and since the leaks have become a little less so. But with that, guys, that'll be the end of everything. Hope you guys are having a great time wherever you may find yourself, whether you're studying, at work, on your way home from work, or gaming. Hope you're having a good time. And if you're not having a good time, or things are going poorly, I hope things can turn around and get better for you. But until the next time, I'll see you next time. Peace.